Let's talk about this. Earlier this week, I got to play some PlayStation 5. They invited me to go over to the company that does like marketing for PlayStation and whatnot, and that's what I was doing Tuesday morning. I got to play around with it. Basically, I got to play. Wait, let me actually put this in presentation mode. Basically, I got to play the game Astro's Playroom, which you can kind of see there. You can see me holding the controller, and there's the console. I got to see the console. I'm still not the biggest fan of the design of the console. I've already stated this. I wish that it was more like square and whatnot. Like, sure, I guess it's more visually appealing if you have like white furniture and whatnot. But if you don't, yeah. It's about as big as I expected in terms of the size of the console, because that's usually the first thing that people are like, that people are surprised by, right? That it's like, oh, it's so big. It's much bigger than the PS4. It is much bigger than the PS4. Like, I usually put the PS4 in my backpack. I'm not going to be able to put the PlayStation 5 in my backpack. So yeah, that's going to be something that I'll have to figure out. It's bigger than usual. She's a beefy boy. But yeah, other than the size, there's not much else to report. I didn't notice any significant noise while I was playing Astro. We'll talk about the controller. We'll talk about the controller because I know that a lot of people want to know about the controller. It's not too big. It's not too small. I think it's bigger than the DualShock 4, actually. Yeah, it's like, right, you see the DualShock 4, you can see my hands on it. You can compare it with the photograph. It's not too big, it's not too small. It's about the same size. It's very easy to swap from one to another. I didn't notice any significant change in terms of size. Naturally, it's got a different factor. It's got different shape and whatnot. But you know, you adapt to it super fast. Like, I just picked it up and I was like, oops, whatever, just works. It is thicker than the DualShock 4. Not by a lot, though. Not by a lot. But I know that the controller is like the thing that we'll probably be talking about the most, because the game that I played was Astro. And you can see the shot of the console here. But we actually couldn't take shots of it sideways. They didn't want us taking pictures of the side of the console. I'm not sure why. I thought that was kind of weird. But anyway, let me see here. This is the game that we played. Anyone who's played the Astro platformer, this is essentially what we played. I got some gameplay footage that they sent me. This is not gameplay footage of me playing. This is gameplay footage of them playing. Now, an important thing is, if you notice frame drops in this, it is because I'm watching the 4K version of the video, and that's on my computer. When I was playing the game, there were no frame drops. It ran pretty much 60 the whole time, no problems whatsoever. I'll talk about the controller in a bit. Let's just first take a quick glimpse at what the video game looks like running. So this is like let me pause the music here. This is the game that I got to play, right? And you can see that it's got a lot of animations, a lot of cutesy stuff. They're trying to make this kind of like their big mascot. And this is one of the important things about the console, right? What you guys saw right there, that's a loading screen. That's how long it takes them to load the level. Boom, you're there. And it's like, the cool thing about this, I don't know if in this footage they have like, they have when you die. But the cool thing about this is that when you die, the respawn was pretty much instant. Can you mute the controller mic? I think we did it with a muted mic, yes. Because the thing about the mic is that there was a function that you could blow into the mic, but they didn't let me do that because COVID, right? And I was wearing a mask the whole time. So it's not like I could just like, oh, let me blow into this mic and put all my germs on it because, you know. But we actually played with the mic turned off. I think there's a button. There's actually a button on the controller that just lets you turn it off. Let me take a look at the pictures again. Yeah, like you see this button here that's lit up. This was the button that they had me press, and I'm pretty sure that what it did is it just turned off the microphone stuff. And I think it automates any feature that requires like the microphone, because some games like an Astro, you had something where you had to blow into the microphone to make certain mechanics work, and pressing that button just made it so that everything just kind of like worked, no problems. As you can see, there's also a light in the controller. I hope we get to turn this off. Like, I didn't get to actually access the console menu. All they let me do is just play the game. So, yeah, isn't this in VR? No, there's 2 different versions of Astro right now, I think. There's the VR one, and there's the normal one. The first one that I played was the VR one, but then there was the normal one, and now this one is like the follow-up to the normal one. But as you can see, the animations are smooth. Everything is pretty much smooth, but at the same time... I'm sorry about the clipping that's happening. I don't know what's going on with my stupid-ass monitor. This is my monitor that's messing it up. Let's just not go full screen. That should fix it. But the thing about it is, like, the visuals in this game, I feel like, are not really impressive enough to showcase the potential of the PS5. So we'll have to wait some more to see it. Oh, look at them! They drew a little heart. I hadn't watched this footage yet, so I hadn't really seen that. Oh, there was a God of War thing there. That's actually cool. I didn't notice all of these details because I was too focused on like the controller and just like playing. When you play the game, you unlock artifacts, which are like other PlayStation hardware. I unlocked like a fat PS3 and a bunch of more stuff. Then there's this mechanic as well, where they actually had you. The way that this worked is you would use the 6-axis of the controller, so you would do like this to the sides. And then you would press the triggers to jump. And the triggers, they have like different resistance to them whenever we were doing this. So the resistance of the triggers actually changes dynamically depending on what the developers want. And we'll get more in depth about that, but that's what this particular part was about. Oh, they actually show you in the video. And you can charge this. Again, do not pay attention to the frame rate in the video because that is my computer. In the console, it was running full 60. No problem, no slowdowns, no nothing. I think there's even footage of the people on PlayStation Access playing this live on a live stream. They did this, I think, like yesterday, which is why I was like, well, why is there like an embargo for tomorrow if people are literally playing this on stream today? Kind of weird, but whatever. Different regions, different embargoes. There, so you unlock artifacts and stuff. You get to play around with the artifacts as well and actually explore them and press buttons and do stuff. Oh, and this one, did they not show it? Let me see if you can see it. There was actually something really cool after this thing. You can't really see it. You can't really see it too well, but you see this box in the corner? This box in the corner was one thing that really called out to my attention and that I thought was really cool. In here, there's like one of these Astro bots that looks just like Solid Snake, and he's under a box. And then the box is labeled Solid State. And I was like, really? That was pretty. I thought that was a neat little callback. You get this little Solid Snake dude here, and then the box is labeled Solid State. But yeah, that was the thing. But anyway, let's actually go to the beginning of this video where they show something much more important so that we can talk about this. Because they show you the demo of you just testing out the controller to, to experience the different features of the controller and whatnot. So let me just... They're going to go through each of the features of the controller for the DualSense. So the vibration, when this is happening, the controller itself is actually vibrating, and you can kind of like feel the texture of the cubes popping inside the controller. You guys remember how everyone made fun of Nintendo when they came up with the idea of HD Rumble? Like that's essentially what this is. I feel like it's just a much more advanced version of HD Rumble, because you feel the texture of the vibration that is happening at any given point. Like there's different textures to vibration, the type of the vibration and all of that. And one of the things that I thought was that specifically in Astro, the controller was potentially using this too much. to the point where I think that some people are going to get desensitized to it, you know? Because if the controller is just vibrating all the time, and sure, there's different textures to the vibration and all that, but if it's vibrating all the time, I think at a certain point, your brain is just going to switch it off and not even care that much. Like, I think it can be really good for immersion in certain situations, but I do feel like the demo that I played, they might have overused it a little bit. But, you know. So yeah, there's a bunch of textures that you actually feel with the vibration. Then there's the adaptive triggers. And like I said, the thing about these triggers, like for instance, in this part of the demo, like they were really hard. Like you would press down on them and there was a lot of resistance there. The problem with that is, like, you know, when you have a controller that you've used for a long time and it's got like gunk in it. It almost felt like that in a way. I was like, oh, so someone should have cleaned this controller, but obviously that was not the case. The controller was perfectly clean. It's just that the resistance that you get from it kind of reminded me of like a controller with like gunk on it and whatnot. But you know, I think it could be interesting, particularly because even it's not just like a flat resistance to the triggers. It's not like just, okay, so this trigger is going to be, I don't know, 20% harder for you to press. It's also dynamic in the point where it's like it can be easy up to a certain point that you pull the trigger. Like, say it's easy up until like the halfway point, and then it's harder the lower you go. So they can dynamically change how much it does, which I think will be very interesting for like FPS games, because you can actually simulate the trigger of a gun, because you can just make it be smooth until you press it and then hear that, you know, and actually get the feel for that. So yeah, also for bows that could be interesting. But yeah, there definitely seems to be a lot of potential on what they can achieve if you know, developers make proper use of these adaptive triggers and whatnot. So I think that is very interesting. And again, whenever you press these during this particular section, you also had like different vibrations. So like, for instance, you press the left one, you'd get much more. You press the right one, you'd get much more vibration on the right side of the controller. And again, it was a different texture. It's all about the texture with this kind of like HD rumble type of thing. You get different textures depending on whatever is happening on the screen. Like, for instance, we are at 31, so let me pull up ahead. They show the snow part, right? Or did they not? Yeah, they show the snow part. So, for instance, when I was going through this level, like there are sections in this level, like right here when he's skiing, you feel like a very light vibration that kind of gives you a completely different vibe than the vibration of when you punch an enemy. So you do kind of feel the texture of the ice and whatnot, particularly when you're sliding down, because they give you like this feeling of wind. And there's a speaker on the controller as well. So yeah, and then in here, this is where you'd use the microphone and you would blow into the microphone and the fan starts spinning. But again, you know, depending on what you're doing in the game, there's the word that I keep coming back to is texture. Lots of vibration textures, so to speak, right? Now let me go back to talk about the other features of the controller. Did they just show the two triggers? Really? I mean, come on here you should definitely do one trigger, two triggers. They just pressed both triggers. Okay, whatever. Basically, in that section of the thing, if you pressed one trigger, it would show the flames coming down on that side. If you pressed the other trigger, the touchpad is also much more precise. Like, this is not an exaggeration. Like, what you're seeing right here is how precise that touchpad is. Like, right, you know how on the PS4 we had the touchpad and the precision on the touchpad was extremely questionable? You can legit do this little spiral thing with your fingers. Like, I wrote my name on it. I wrote my name when I got to this part, and it was super easy. It is 1,000,000 times more precise than the one on the PS4. Like, easily. And, you know, whether or not that's going to be a good thing for games depends on how they use them. Because even in this game, in the Astro Playroom, the only thing that I really use the touchpad for is there's a section in here. Let me show it to you guys, which is when we actually put on that suit for the jumping. This was the only thing that I remember using the touchpad for. Like, you get in here, and then you swipe up, right? You swipe up on the touchpad, just like you do in the current one, and it closes the suit. Like, that's all I really use the touchpad for. I don't know if there was anything else to use the touchpad for, but yeah. But see, that's the thing. Like, you have this degree of precision on the touchpad, and then on their demo game, they just like, okay, just swipe up, and you'll close the thing. Again, but let me tell you, it is very surprising the amount of precision that you get on this touchpad. I was definitely surprised by it. And let's see, what's the next feature that they showed? The motion sensor. The quality of the motion sensor is also much better. It's not entirely one-to-one, right? Because like what you want is one-to-one. Like you want the controller, like you do this and it instantly does that. So it's not entirely one-to-one, but it is much closer than what we have right now on the DualShock 4. So like whenever you move the thing around, that was one of the things that I spent like people were just like looking at me in the demo room because I just kept, when I got to this part, I just kept going like this, like really fast to try and see just how fast the response time would be and to just like, you know, flip it around and whatnot and play around with the controller. And people were just looking like at me like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? What the hell is he doing? And I'm just like, I'm touching the motion sensor. I'm testing the motion sensor because to me, that is actually very important. Because I wish more games would use motion sensing for aiming. There's not enough games that do that. There really isn't. And it is a much better way of playing those games than the friggin' analog stick. And anyone who tells you otherwise, in my opinion, they're completely wrong. Like aiming like this, like it's even better than mouse and keyboard, in my opinion. And it has been, the technology has been there since the friggin' Wii. Like when I played my first, the first time that I played a first-person shooter on the Wii that properly utilized aiming with the Wiimote, which I think was Metroid Prime or whatever the hell, I was just like, holy crap, this is awesome. This is friggin' awesome. It is way better than mouse and keyboard or aiming with an analog stick. But people are still like clinging on to their old ways, like, no, my analog stick. And it's like, nah, dude, you can do much better. The thing is, developers, they don't really put in the work to properly develop these systems. Like I remember when Doom came out on the Switch, one of the things that I was excited about was actually aiming with motion controls. And they didn't even have it in the game, like by default. And I was like, what the hell are you even doing? Like, what are you even doing? Like, advance the medium forward. Try out new input methods. Like, figure this stuff out. But yeah, the motion sensing is much better. It's still not full on one-to-one, but it's pretty damn close. It's pretty damn close. It's really good. I don't know why they're moving it so slow. Like, I'm telling you, when I tested this, I was literally going like, and it was mimicking me pretty damn good. Again, there was still like a slight delay. It was not one-to-one, but it was really, really close. And then you have the microphone thing, which, like I said, I didn't really get to test that out because COVID. But yeah, this is supposedly you blow into the microphone and stuff happens. Interesting, they don't show the speaker here, but there is a speaker. Like, this right here is a speaker, and it's actually a good speaker. Like, it actually had some pretty good sounds. The problem is, naturally, someone like me, most of the time I play with headphones on, because like even this one, it has a speaker as well. The DualShock 4, it's got a speaker right here. It's just nobody actually uses it. Very few developers actually use this. It actually surprised me a couple of times when I was playing 14, because whenever you get like a Q pop or something, it actually pops in control like pching, and I was like, oh, what the hell? But yeah, very few games actually make use of the speaker, so I don't really see the speaker being a big deal, because again, it's been in controllers for a while, and people they just don't make use of it. That's the thing. Wrong time to make the microphone feature. Well, I mean, it's not like the PlayStation 5 was in development for a year. It's been in development for quite some time. They can't just like change the entire development of this controller. This controller has probably been iterated upon a million times over. It's not like, oh, COVID's here, let's just cancel the microphone on the controller, right? You dirty console, I bet your backboard is dusty. Jesus Christ. Yeah. This is kind of it though. I mean, there's not much else to it. I wish that there was more stuff that I could call out, but basically my experience with it, like, sure, I enjoyed playing the console. It's not really the game that I care that much for, because, you know, it's Astro. Like, sure, I think Astro is great. It was a good platformer. I enjoyed playing it when I played the VR version. I played a little bit of the other version, and there's clearly some improvements there. But the more important thing that you can really tell from Astro was the loading screens. The loading screens and the respawn timers. Like, the respawn was like that. Like, you die, and boom, you're instantly back in the game. Just, like, straight up. So, yeah, I don't think they actually show it here, though. And yeah, then there's the texture, the vibrations. Just like I said, I do feel like they might have overused it a little bit in Astro. I think that vibration as well as motion controls is something that needs to be very well implemented. It can't just be like over-exaggerated. These are things that have a time and a place. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about just like the controller vibrating all the friggin' time, but yeah. I think this was actually the ending of the level. I don't think they show you what happens afterwards, because they told me that I wasn't allowed to talk about what happened at the end of the demo, but it's not that big of a deal anyway. Is that Parappa? That's supposed to be Parappa the Rapper. Oh, look, there's dolphins! And this is the artifact thing. Like I said, I hadn't unlocked a fat PS3. Imagine if the adaptive triggers would reflect if you use a fast or really slow weapon in the Demon's Souls remaster. They probably will. Actually, oh no, I understand what you're saying. That would actually be a really cool feature. I don't know if they will or not, but like if you're wielding a beefy weapon, the triggers having more resistance, that could be interesting. The problem is that you mostly use R1 and L1, and I don't think those have like adaptive resistance. I think it was only the triggers.